Hey everybody, it is Wintermute coming to you from the Think Tank, and this is part 2 of my Germany video, kind of going over the basics, I'm going to start this one off by talking about all the ways Germany can piss people off. So peacetime income increases that Germany does to torque off their neighbors. We're going to go just write down this list. So USSR possesses, if Germany possesses a new land zone adjacent to USSR home country, 1d12 each time. And I kind of talked about that already when dealing with Romania. Also, if as the German player, you decide you're not going to sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, and you want to take these two territories, or well, maybe even these territories, as a way to get closer into Russia, understand this one, this one, this one, and this one are each a 1d12 increase to the Russian peacetime economy. So is that worth it? I don't know. To deny Russia some or all of this buffer zone, but then give them more money, in exchange for being closer to getting to the territories you want to take, you'll have to make that call. I personally don't think so. But I'm sure there's plenty of argument to be had there one way or the other, based on kind of what your overall plan is. But just something to point out in reference to something we talked about earlier. So if Germany declares war on USSR, it'll give +5 to the US. If Germany declares war on the British Commonwealth or France, it'll get +5, and that's one time, not 5 for each. France will go up by 5 if Germany declares war on USSR. France will go up by 2d12 if Germany declares war on any other nation. So if Germany decides it's going to take out Yugoslavia before it gets knee-deep into Poland and or France itself, or something along those lines, then France is going to go up by 2d12. And so that's going to be about 13 IPP that they're going to go up. They will probably hit wartime economy at that, or their wartime economy level at that point. Each time Germany annexes Bohemia, Slovakia, and Austria, +1 each time. And it's the same thing for Britain down there. So each time you do, one of these, they go up 1, they go up 1. If you're playing, now I have Canada down here just because I wanted to be thorough. So you can see here, if you're playing with the Canadian expansion, if they annex Bohemia, that's another +1 for Canada because they're kind of ran like their own nation in that expansion. So that's why that's there. And then if they declare war if Germany declares war on USSR, Britain will go up by 1d12 and only roll if Italy has not declared war. And the wording for that was just kind of, I just clarified the wording for that one. That's why that extra part's there. If they declare war on any neutral nation in Europe, 2d12 each time. Again, that's going to be an average of 13. They start at, I believe they started at 11. They need to go to 25. It's really easy for them to hit unless you get lucky and they roll low, which is possible. And then each time Germany completes a capital ship, Britain goes up another 1. So they don't like the Navy. They don't like the idea of having their Navy challenged. And then if Germany ever declares war on the Netherlands, East Indies, Anzac goes up by 3, and only if Italy or Japan has not already declared war. So that's all the ways that Germany can piss people off. They're pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of trickiness to that, other than understanding that if you do want to take out and gobble up a few of the major or minor nations before you really get knee deep with France or Britain, it's still 2d12. That's going to be an average of 13 is just what I'm calling it, just to be fair. And, odds are they're going to just declare war on you at that point. Or they will be in a position to declare war on you, and they're going to be probably at their wartime income. Now, sometimes snake eyes are rolled, and Britain and or France may kind of go, We never really liked Yugoslavia anyway. You know what? Why don't you go ahead and take Greece while you're at it? We don't care about them either. But, man, that's a hard thing to rely on. So, yeah, the peacetime income increases with a D12, being that each one is a D12, that's a big swing. So you may really piss off everybody with those rolls, or they might kind of go, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. But, yeah, well, we knew it was coming. So, you got to kind of calculate the risks yourself. So, yeah, that's all the ways that Germany can piss people off. So now we're going to talk about some other special abilities. Then we're going to go into wartime bonus income. And then we're going to go into their special units. And then we're going to talk a little more specifically about things that they need to think about and consider. So, Lightning War. And this is a powerful ability. Once per game, and prior to January 1941, all German and land and air units may make an additional sequence of combat moves, combat including blitz, and non-combat moves. The second round of attacks takes place immediately after the end of the first non-combat movement. Units with blitz may use this ability both rounds if possible. Wow, that is a powerful, powerful ability. Now, traditionally, it is used to knock France out right away. Now, historically, it was, they went in and they took out, Poland. Then they turned around, went over to France, because France, this whole Sitzkrieg for 6 months, and then they took out France by sneaking in. Now, in this game, realistically, you're going to probably go after France first. Now, I will add, it is completely possible and a perfectly viable option to take both Poland up to Warsaw and knock France out of the war in the same turn if you plan accordingly to pull it off. That's a whole video unto itself, so I won't go into the details there. But it is possible. I've seen it numerous times. I've done it numerous times. But Lightning War is what makes that possible. Now, other people I've heard talked about possibly taking out Poland and then using Lightning War to go deep into Russia. Here's the problem with that: if you don't take Paris and knock France out of the war and establish Vichy, you're in for a hell of a fight. While France is not a powerhouse at this point in history that it used to be, it ain't weak either. Its wartime economy, I believe, is 16 or 18. I can't remember. I think they bumped it up a little in 3rd edition. And they actually do not start with, they don't start with a powerful army, but it's not nothing. And if they get to just build at their full economy, for 1 or 2 turns, suddenly it's like, good luck, man. You're already knee deep in Russia, and you've got France that's at full power and Britain at full power coming after you. Good luck. So I really don't know whether that's a great idea, because you can never truly knock Russia out of the war because they keep moving their capital. You can keep taking it, but they keep moving it, and they keep fighting, and they will go all the way across there, all the way to the other coast if they have to, and keep fighting. So there really is no knocking them out of the war, like there is compared to other powers. They will always fight. So if you try it, good luck. I really want to know how it works out. I do know one player who said he tried it, and he said that this border turned into World War I. Germany would build up forces and kind of get to the point where you'd have a possible attack, and then France would just put a couple more guys there, and they were just constantly one-upping each other, and it just, nothing moved, and then on top of all that, it's like, yeah, okay, Germany has a bunch of this territory over here, but, you've got 1s and 2s and 3s, France alone, the entire body of France is 10, not including anything else that you get from Vichy elsewhere in the French Empire. So, is it worth it? I'm going to say no, based on what I've heard in my experience. But, you know, this game has a much broader spectrum of possibilities within it. So traditionally, you're going to use Lightning War to knock out France and or Poland in the same turn. You might not be able to pull both off right away until you get a little more experience with the game, but it is possible to do them both in the same turn. Soviet surprise attack. Once per game, if Germany declares war on the Soviet Union, all German land and air units get +1 attack, and all Soviet units get -1 defense on all rounds of combat and subsequent blitz. The Soviet Union may not attack more than one German-owned land zone on its next turn. Germany does not get this bonus if the USSR declares war first. That last sentence is important to keep in mind. And I will talk about that a little bit more when I go into Russia. And there are absolutely reasons why Russia might attack Germany first. That alone, you know, that is one right there, is to deny the surprise attack. Now, that's not necessarily needed, because most Russian players are going to lightly defend the border, wherever it ends up being. And so you may go in very easily, but you're probably not going to get their good stuff unless they leave it hanging out here very well. They're going to kind of keep their stuff back. But it is very limiting that they can only counterattack into one zone. But I can tell you from already playing Russia recently that my counterattack is going to be probably a really kick-ass counterattack. And I'm gonna make sure of that. So be on your toes as a German player when you go into Russia. It may look like you're just going to kick in the door and walk right, and the whole house will collapse down, just like what Hitler thought was going to happen. But the truth is, that's, you know, yeah, you're going to have your first 2 turns will probably be very successful, but then after that, you're going to be in a quagmire. Even with that bonus, because you're probably not going to get his prime stuff with that bonus. Even though kind of historically they did well in the border and captured a lot of guys. In this game, the Russia's going to lightly defend the border and keep their good stuff in the back, most likely, because they don't want to give up units to the Germans on, you know, because they're fighting so weak. Then the last ability is technological superiority. Germany gains 1 free tech roll per turn. Nothing wrong there. Germany can purchase medium armor and mechanized infantry earlier than other nations, starting in July 1938, which I believe is 2 or 3 whole turns. I haven't checked the dates recently, before the other nations. And you're going to do that. Here's why. Mechanized infantry and medium armor are what can, well, medium armor is what can blitz. And blitzing is super important to Germany being able to pull off what it wants to do quickly. So a lot of German players will kind of keep a couple bucks back each turn when they're spending, building up for the war. And then as soon as they hit that turn where they can build the medium armor and mech infantry, they will go ahead and they will start, they'll take that, you know, 10, 12, 15 IPP that they've been saving up, and then they'll go, okay, well, that goes right into being medium tanks and mechanized infantry. So yeah, that's a technological superiority. That second part of the ability is very important for Germany. Now, so those are their special abilities. I want to go into their special units real quick. Now, basically, I don't have the unit sheet in front of me, but I know what they are. It's the SS Panzer Grenadiers, which you're limited to build 2 per turn once you have advanced mech. Actually, let me double check that. I really want to double check that. And of course, I don't have the Yep, it's available once Germany has advanced mechanized infantry. SS Panzer Grenadiers may blitz without pairing with armor. Other units may not pair with them, so they can blitz on their own. They attack on 4, defend on 5, move 2, and cost 4. So basically, if you're going to build advanced mechanized infantry, if you're going to build advanced mechanized infantry, each turn, your first 2 should just be SS Panzer Grenadiers. They don't cost anything extra to make that, so you just build 2 per turn, and they can blitz on their own, which is great. That's just gravy. You don't pay anything extra for that. Now, and that's good because you can use those blitzing units that can blitz on their own, can go in with you know, other armor without having to pair. And or they can start blitzing into territories on their own that are lightly defended or maybe not defended on their own, so you can spread out a little bit more, maybe grab some more territory quicker. Now, the other special unit they get is the Tiger 1E, and this is a really good one. A lot of the other special units that militaries have are limited to, in this game, are limited to building 2 per turn. Not the case with the Tiger 1E. Every single heavy armor you build is a Tiger 1E. So it automatically has vehicle target selection, vehicle class units 1 through 3. Not just 1 through 3. That's really good. And there's no limit to how many you can build per turn. I already checked. I checked with the actual designers. Yeah, so every single piece of heavy armor you build gets that bonus. So that's nice. I don't think any other unit in the game kind of gets that. Or any other nation gets a bonus kind of like that. They're usually a little more limited to how many they can build per turn. So yeah, heavy armor is already a good choice for Germany as a tech. And I've already said that. Same thing with mechanized infantry, because those 2 alone give you access to your 2 special units, both of which are really good. So that's your special abilities and your special units. Now, I want to talk about wartime bonuses. Now, these are actually pretty straightforward for Germany. Now, in Germany's case, Germany possesses Sweden or Sweden is neutral. So, and I did another video where I talked about the possibility of actually Germany invading Sweden and adding it to the Reich. You know, I'm not going to say yay or nay. I have never tried it, never had a chance. It's just an interesting idea. But it does secure you that 3, you know, you're basically going to get 3 for the territory, and then you're going to get the 3 additional for the bonuses, just kind of like Romania. So, but so long as Sweden is neutral, it gets +3. So you automatically get that without doing anything. And if the Allies decide they want to try and take it from you, you can take it back, and then you still get that +3 bonus back. And then they get +1 if Germany possesses Trondelag. Now, Trondelag is right here. Now, if you look at Norway, you got 3 territories. This one is worth 1 IPP. This one is worth 1 IPP. So all of this one is worth nothing. So all of Norway would be worth 2. For Germany, it's worth 3 because Trondelag becomes... it gets that +1 bonus. Historically, I know why that is. But in this game, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of German players go for Norway because it kind of sticks their neck out there. There are absolutely reasons to do it, and if you do it, you take Trondelag, great. You get the extra bonus of having the extra IPP for that territory, but not a huge bonus to go after. But it is there. And then, of course, Germany possessing Romania. We talked about that one earlier. Then Germany, if Germany possesses Iraq, Transcaucasia, or southern Iran. So here we have... So Germany would have to get all the way here to southern Iran. Good luck. And Iraq is another +2. Again, kind of not impossible, but good luck. And Transcaucasia goes from being 5 to 7. That's how important those oil fields were to Germany. And again, this is already a tough hoe for Germany to get to here. And then this isn't great, probably even harder. And then this is even harder. You're more likely to have Italy come over here and grab Iraq. But they don't get that kind of bonus. I don't believe. Maybe, and I will have to double check that. But yeah, for Germany to be able to get Transcaucasia and Iraq and Iran, each one is worth 2. And then they're actually good territories in and of themselves, because southern Iran is already 2, Iraq is already 2, and Transcaucasia is already 5. So you've got 9. If you get all 3, that's you're getting 15 for those 3 territories, and then you'll probably have Azerbaijan as well for 16, and then you'll also probably have Northern Caucasus for 19. I mean, that's great, but good luck. Those are, because even if Russia fails to keep you out of Transcaucasia, you will get Britain and the FEC coming up this way to stop you because Southern Iran is an IPP bonus for Britain, and so it's good for them to have it neutral or in their possession, so they're not going to want to lose that to begin with, and on top of keeping it away from you. So you're going to be in for a fight there, one way or the other, unless Japan has done an amazing job keeping them pinned down. And again, you got to get Germany all the way down there, and that's not an easy task. I'll be honest, it's just not. Never going to say impossible, but good luck. So that's everything on this sheet. That's everything for the neutral alignment. Now, I'm going to kind of go over a couple things I mentioned earlier. These are specific things that you as the German player has to think about when you're sitting down to play Germany. I talked about Spain. Spain is going to happen before the major war breaks out. So you have to decide how much of what in resources you're going to lend-lease to allow the nationals to win. Now, you don't have to lend-lease anything, and they still might win, but man, it's a lot riskier. So I know I think the best bang for your buck is 1 mountain infantry per turn until you win the war, or until it's clear the Spanish are gonna win the war, because most of Spain is mountainous. Now, I've also seen people do, I think Panzer King was giving like a dive bomber every turn to nationalist Spain. I'm like, wow, that's a heck of an investment. But you're going to have to make that call in terms of how quickly you want to win it and how decisively you want to win it. But I do feel that as the German player, you are going to need to lend-lease something. Otherwise, it's a much more straight-up 50-50 fight from the beginning, because both sides are not completely, they're a lot more equal. And the thing that really turns the tide is the lend-lease from Germany and or Italy. Russia can lend-lease to the nationalists, or the Republicans, but they have so little income to do it from the start. It's easy to outpace them, even if they decide to. So you need to decide how much you want to commit, though, because while you do start off at your full wartime economy at this point at 20, and by the end of turn 3, you'll be up to 24 with the annexations, assuming you do them. That's still only 24. It'll buy a lot of stuff, but you're going to have to expend a lot of that stuff going into France and going into Poland and dealing with however you're going to deal with Britain. But so think about how much you want to commit. You may want to just commit a bunch of stuff right away, big quality units, and just win it right away and get that out of the way. That's fair. Or you may go, okay, I'm going to be a little more economic about this. I'm going to give what I think I can get away with, and then finally cut them off once it looks like victory is imminent, even though it may take another turn or two. I don't want to invest any more. I want to keep that money up in Germany. Either one is a perfectly reasonable way to look at it and think about it. But you do need to think about what you're going to do with Spain. The next big thing you're going to need to consider is how you're going to deal with France and how you're going to deal with Poland. Are you going to try and take them out both the same turn? Are you going to use your Lightning War ability to take one out and then just deal with the other? Probably France. One special thing about France that I should mention before I go any further is there's 2 ways that France surrenders. You either come straight into Paris, take Paris, France surrenders. Or the Axis take all these territories surrounding France, or Paris, excuse me, and then France surrenders. They declare Paris an open city and surrender. those are those are basically your two options. Either you're going to drive straight into Paris or you're going to surround it. A lot of that is going to depend on what you're comfortable doing, on how your opponent builds up their defenses, and factors like that. France also has the Maginot Line here, which is, you will bleed a lot if you try to fight through that line. Even if they keep just a couple infantry there, you're going to bleed. It's like 2 first strikes at 6, +3 to all defenders first round, and double casualties. That is crazy. So you're usually going to want to come up here through Belgium and then come down to Paris that way, or come in and kind of spread out and surround it this way, using your Lightning War and Blitz abilities, and maybe have Italy take southern France to help out and get Paris completely surrounded. But how you do it is a little bit, I'm not going to go too deep into how you do it. I'm just going to say you have to come up with a game plan on how you're going to take Paris out. Surround it or attack it directly. On the other end of the Europe, you have Poland. That'll be a little more of a straight up fight. You only need to worry about West Poland, Donetsk, and Warsaw, assuming you signed the Warsaw Pact. Now, you can also stage units in East Prussia, but remember, this and this are probably going to end up being Russian territories. And if you didn't sign the pact and you don't give them to Russia, then their peacetime income is going to, go up a bit. But you need to think about, how do I want to take them out? Do I want to take the Netherlands out at the same time? I know in second edition, some people talked about just fighting through the Maginot Line, and then going straight into Paris using a blitz. I don't know, man. I would be really uncomfortable with that. But that's, as a German player, that's going to be like the second biggest priority you're going to do. And part of that priority of thinking about how to take out Poland and Paris is, what exactly are you going to build? You're probably going to want a bunch of armor and mechanized infantry. And remember, you get them early so you can start blitzing before anybody else can in the game. And that'll make Poland a lot easier. But France being bigger and the way that the zones are laid out, you're going to have to put a lot more thought into how you're going to do that. So that's the next big thing. And then after that, UK, because UK is going to be, on top of you pretty quick. You have to figure out, what are you going to do if they start counterattacking right away? Now, in part of that is, part of understanding what you're going to do with Britain comes to how are you going to handle your navy. Now, historically, obviously, the surface warships of the German Navy didn't do a whole lot. It was all about the sub-war. That is certainly a viable option here. You can build subs and, and one thing that you can do is, the last guy I played against, who played Germany, kept all his subs there until the war started, and then he moved them out onto these convoy lines. You don't have to wait to move them out. You can move your subs out here, stage them in areas off the convoy lines or near the convoy lines in a way that you're not telegraphing where you're going to attack exactly, and make the British player kind of play a guessing game. And then, okay, the war happens, and we're going to start raiding Britain right away. We're going to start raiding the convoy lines right away and really cut off their economy. And that's really, if you're going to really fight in the Atlantic, that's what you want to do. You want to have your subs out there ready to roll as soon as the order is given to start sinking British shipping. And that's going to line up with when you attack Paris, or when you attack France, because Britain's immediately going to declare war on you. So, on the other hand, Germany has the ability to, one, get some of these French naval units, which may change what they do with their surface fleet. Their surface fleet is not powerful by any means, but it is not paltry either. So you may actually want to add a couple destroyers to it, in addition to subs. And I'm kind of counting subs as their own separate build, because you don't ever have to build another surface ship, but you may want to pump out subs to keep the war in the Atlantic going. on the other hand, maybe you do want to reinforce that surface fleet and position it in a way that if the British player ever kind of splits his fleet up out here, you have the option of going out and picking off a huge chunk of it before he can really, and then make him bring his force and reconsolidate it and maybe counterattack depending on what's left, because you may take out a big enough chunk, and then what he's got left, he may go, oh, man, I really can't take out that German Navy. Well, now that German Navy just sails back to Germany and does what it wants to do, or it continues to harass the British Navy. But Britain has a big Navy to start with. So if you're going to go the Navy route, you kind of need to commit to it early and hopefully be a little lucky. Because if Britain plays it very conservatively and always keeps a huge Navy around the home island, your Navy may just sit there for most of the game. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't other ways to use the German Navy. There is a Russian Navy up here to start with. You may just have that come up here and whack that. You'll probably have to do that regardless. But so in addition to, so not just dealing with Britain as a whole and worrying about counterattacks and worrying about them maybe strategically bombing you right from the get-go and things like that. And they may even open up a D-Day landing pretty early. If he thinks you're weak and he thinks he can start landing 4 guys every turn on the French coast and make you constantly put resources on that into France and pull them away from the Russian front, he may do that. So you want to have some idea of how you're going to deal with that. And I don't have a good answer for that. You'll have to kind of figure out the ratio of subs versus surface ships versus how much force you have to defend. And never forget that your Air Force, you might want to keep fighters back, at least to keep away any easy pot shot, or to keep, so you can take easy pot shots at his bombers if he brings them in carelessly. Just another thing to kind of consider. So, Britain is more than just Britain itself. It is the entire Atlantic. You need to kind of think about, how am I going to deal with this? Now, subs in this version of the game are much harder to kill. So you make him hunt you. But at the same time, if you see a small fleet of ships that maybe you can consolidate your subs into and take out, that's a perfectly viable option too. You kind of want to force the British player to spread out his resources as much as possible, because if he ever gets to kind of just go, oh, I don't need to worry about protecting my lanes anymore, and I get to consolidate my fleet right in the English Channel, all of a sudden you're going to have a much harder time, keeping him at bay, and he's going to start really, really coming into your coast up here, even just to harass you every turn and eat up your resources, and things of that nature. So, that's definitely a much more complex thing to think about. And so I don't have a clear, you should do this.